Mabuhay, this is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. Today's topic, are foreigners and Filipinas a last resort for each other? Are they a last resort? Let me know what you think about that here on Love Beyond the Sea. This is a pro-marriage channel for a foreigner to marry a Filipina. That's a woman from the Philippines, like I did. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. But I want to focus here today on the last resort and how that makes people feel. And is it true? Is it good or is it bad? Now, I kind of felt like it was my last resort, but I'll tell you more about that later. So is it a last resort? Well, is a Westerner, let's say, the last resort for a Filipina? Filipinas, you would think with their beauty and reputation, could find somebody in the Philippines very easy, and you may be wondering why that doesn't happen. Well, one reason is, that I've gathered is once she gets to be about 30 years old, there's no interest. If she is a single mother, there's no interest. And, for whatever reason, and I've heard this from Filipinas, it's not just me saying this, that many of the Filipino men, young men, especially since the women we're looking at are usually younger, the young men just aren't serious about commitment. So what are these women to do? Well, they've heard of other Filipinas that married Western men. Maybe they were close to their age, but most likely in the past, the men have been older, although I think there is a little shift going on there, which I've talked about in other videos. If I haven't here, we will talk about that. So she's thinking, is this my last resort? She might feel like an old maid at 30. Some guy that can provide for her. I think she's open to it. I don't think Filipinas make as big a deal about looks as Western women, or as much as we think they would. That's just not high on their list. So, is a Westerner the last resort for a Filipina? Possibly, very possibly. What about a Filipina being the last resort for a Westerner? Well, if he's in his 50s or 60s and has not had a good time of a good go of marriage, he's living in the West where maybe there's just increasing feminism and hatred of men, or lack of respect of men, and women are not conservative, they're more liberal. Well, that guy is thinking, I'm not going to get married here, but what else can I do? Am I stuck? Well, as I said, you can go where you're wanted, which may be in another country. For many Western men, they continue to try to find a wife in the Philippines. So, it could be a last resort. It depends on the age of the man. Excuse me. He could be, the older he is, I think the more time is running out and the more looking for a Filipina would be a last resort. If he's younger, he has more time. But if there's so many, liberal women in the West, he may be waiting another 15, 20 years and decide he should have done something sooner. So maybe we shouldn't wait for it to be a last resort. So is this good or bad? I think it's bad if this Western man, let's say he's a controller, and maybe he has addiction issues, he's in debt, just not serious about a relationship. Maybe he's got emotional problems. And I think it's bad if the Filipina is very immature, which can happen if you're, in your early 20s. If she's a scammer, and there are a lot of them out there. If she just wants attention, probably has attention from a lot of men. And if she doesn't say that, she is married, she could be married and just not say so. There's no divorce in the Philippines. So there are situations where you wouldn't want to just jump in because it seems like the last resort, because you could end up in a lot of trouble. But this can be a good thing. Let's say that the man is still hungry for a wife. He's not bitter and jaded. Let's say he can be a good provider. Let's say he's wise. He's learned from all of his life experience. And if he is a one-woman man, then this so-called last resort could be a good thing. And it could be good if the Filipina is willing to give her best to this guy, if she's willing to relocate, move from the Philippines like my wife did coming to the United States about 6.5 years ago. And I saw this as a good opportunity for me. I had been single a very, very long time, still wanted to get married, had no idea what I was going to do. And my pastor told me, well, why don't you look in another country? Wow, why would I do that? That's crazy. But then I'm not going to find anybody, so maybe I should do that. So I started looking into it, found that website, Christian Filipina, and we got married in less than 8 weeks. And all that wait was over, and I used all the things I learned in that time to try to be the best husband that I could. And it's helped make me mature as a man and a person and a husband. I think, marriage should do that for each person. So it was a good opportunity for me. And maybe people shouldn't be waiting until they're 50 or more to start looking for the Philippines and a wife. Why not when you're in your 20s? I just had a man tell me just last week, he heard one of my, he was watching some of my videos, and he went to Christian Filipina, got married. Never thought of that before. I hadn't thought of it before. That's why I'm here with Love Beyond the Sea, to help encourage men to do something like go to another country. It doesn't have to be the Philippines, but if it's not working where you are, there are options, especially anywhere else in the world, and they can speak your language. There are women that want to get married but are not being pursued, and maybe it's the distance, maybe it's the cost, but if you can still find a good wife, I think then it's still worth doing that. So, for example, the young man can't find conservative women if that's what he's looking for. Things have changed since I was young. And so if there are conservative women in other countries, maybe they should do that sooner or later. I'm trying to find love beyond the sea.